daydreaming about dragons. And I just got done with a game. We played from Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Games on Demand Online. We raised a lot of money for a bail fund project and for the NAACP, which makes me feel pretty dang good. Thank you, Mad J, for hustling as always, and I appreciate all the work you did and allowing me to get together with friends and game. It was a cool game. I had a mix. I had two people who I knew really well, one of whom I've gamed with a lot, and the other who I had never gamed with. So that was cool. That's always a cool thing when you've got a friend who you haven't gamed with and you get to game with them for the first time. That's awesome. So thank you, Rich. Thank you, Jim. And then I got to meet new people, which was awesome. And I really liked that. Got to meet Nick. Got to meet Antonio. Antonio's dog, Bowser. It was just a good morning. The adventure wasn't very good. I ran my adventure a village near a dungeon with a necromancy problem, and I'll have a link to that in the show notes. And it's not good. It's got a problem. And I was thinking about what's the problem? Why is this a problem? And I'm trying to figure out how, or if this is just a rule for me for adventures in general. Here's the problem. In the game, there are these people looking. There are these folks. There's a sorcerer, or a necromancer, a young necromancer, and mercenaries that the necromancer has hired, and they're tearing apart this village looking for a map. And in the adventure as written right now, the players don't have the map, so they're looking for the map too, or they end up looking for the map, even if you don't tell them, hey, you don't have to find the map. There are other ways to do this. They still look for the map. And I didn't say that explicitly anyway, but it's something worth noting. So the way I would change it is I would start them with the map. That way they can just explore the village and the tower and the owl bear lair and the ghoul in the hills, and they can just relax and not feel like they have to find the one little pixel that's hidden in the brick that's in the wall that they just never looked at. Because that's kind of what ends up happening. And I don't like it. So how is this a rule? How can we turn this into something that we can use when we're thinking about structuring adventures? So here's the way I'm thinking about it. And this is just for me for now. And I don't know if the rule applies to you, because you could have very different skills than I do, which is totally cool. I'm totally down with that. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it's fun to explore and find a thing, but it's not so much fun for me to structure adventure where you have to explore and find that one special thing, right? And I think that's why murder mysteries are so difficult for me, because you got to find that one person who actually did it, right? And that's frustrating. But looking for things, just looking and exploring, and just being open to whatever you find, that's fun, right? Or having the thing and then seeing what you do with it, right? To me, murder mysteries aren't so much fun, but giving the players the knowledge of who did it and then seeing what they do with that information, that is fun, especially if it's not a situation where they can just run up to the person, point at them, and say, ha, 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 right? If it's who killed, the Duke? Oh, it's the King's Chamberlain. Oh, you don't have the power to really bring that person in court. Suddenly that gets more interesting, right? So for me, the game is interesting when they have the thing or when they just are looking for the sake of looking. They're not looking for the one thing. They're just looking for the thing. They're just looking to see what they can find. They're going what interests them. Not in a lackadaisical way, right? Because in this adventure, there would be other people looking for something. And so it would be fraught. It would be dangerous. It would be adventurous. But then you don't have to find the one dang nab thing. Ugh. Is that tiring? So that is what is on my mind today. finding things, looking for things. Do you have to make a roll to find it? Searching a desk. You want to hear a pet peeve about finding things? Here's a pet peeve. Ready? Player comes up to a desk. They're in the bad guy's office. Okay? And they say, I'm searching the desk. You know, you've got a system with basic skills. Let's say it's D&D. And what do you do as the GM? So here's what I say you should do. Here's my technique. I say, do you care whether or not the bad guy knows you were here? Because if you just want to toss the joint, you can toss the joint, but they will know that the place got tossed. In that case, no search roll, I'll tell you what you find. Right? And you also, there's a higher chance that you just might get caught in the act. Because if they come up here, it's going to be problems. Now, if you want to search and you want to put everything back exactly where it was, now we're talking. Now that's an interesting role to me. Now there are some stakes on the table, right? Because I want you to find the stuff. I'm not interested in a skill roll about whether or not you have the ability to find something in a desk. That is not interesting. Can you find it without anyone knowing you were here? That's interesting. Can you find it before the guards who you hear tromping down the hallway get here? Now you're talking. Right? And even then, a failed roll means you find the thing and the guards walk in. Not you find the thing and then you can stealth and hide yourself or go through the window. So anyway, had a moment there. Had my finding things perception roll pet peeve thing came out. I've wanted to talk about that for ages. It makes me nutty. You know, because as the GM, you want to share these things. You've made up all this cool stuff. Why are you hiding it? Well, that might have to be the subject next week. Hiding stuff. Oh, it's something I did back in the day a lot. I'll talk about that. I'll definitely talk about that. Come back next week. That's what's on the table. Finding things, hiding things. Hiding things is a GM habit. Woof. Yeah. But for today, it's about looking for that one thing. Or having it. Or just searching the environment because it's wondrous and fantastic and magical and dangerous. And so it is exciting to do so. And that's what's on my mind after gaming this morning. Right? As if the game wasn't fun enough. As if it wasn't as much fun enough to play this game, to play Trophy Gold with these folks and make my adventure better. It was also very stimulating. Good stuff. Inspiration Goat. The IG. What do you have for us today? Please, bleat at us. One quick thing before Inspiration Goat bleats. Sorry, Inspiration Goat. One quick thing. You might have noticed that I've changed the name of the opening segment. I used to call it AP, which is also actual play, because all of my ideas come from actual play. But upon talking to a friend, they were not going to listen to a bunch of episodes because they don't like listening to actual play podcasts. So I've changed the name to Table Techniques, and I'm going through slowly but surely and editing it in all of the show notes. So you might notice that what used to be called AP is now called Table Techniques or TT. And that's because I didn't want people to get the wrong idea that it was an actual play podcast and avoid me because they don't like actual play podcasts, when in truth it is not an actual play podcast. Got me? Cool. All right. IG time. All right. And again, okay. All right. You're the boss. You are the boss, Inspiration Goat. Let's do it. Let's talk about Game of Thrones again. And this time we're talking specifically about the TV show, which, to my mind, had a pretty weak ending. Now, if you loved the ending, don't worry about it. You know, I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to be criticizing it the whole time. Imagine that we're holding up some piece of media that had a bad ending then. Because That's what I want to talk about. That's, I think, the lesson we can learn from the Game of Thrones TV show, is how to stick the landing, or how to maybe not worry about sticking the landing quite so much at our game table, right? It's a very difficult thing, figuring out when to end things. And here is my basic advice, is ending it earlier is better than trying to end it later. All right? If you end it too early, you can always come back to it. And then it's just like a lovely sequel that came out of nowhere. But if you try to end it too late, it can kind of muss things up. And the specific bit that I think we can learn from the Game of Thrones show is not trying to tie up every single loose end, right? And maybe you can do it, right? Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can just take the time and do it. But if you feel like you need to do one more game because there is that one NPC you need to see, maybe just leave it out there, right? That there's something nice about having the player character out there in the world doing their thing. And you just let the camera fade to black. And that's okay. It's okay to end the game when you're still kind of yearning for it a little bit. Just a little bit of sweet heartache. That's a good place to end. It's a good place to end. Get to something else, get to something different, and then you can always come back to it. You can always come back to it. And I find one thing that has helped me come back to it, and I didn't think this is a side effect I had no idea of, is having my games recorded. I did not realize that having this stuff archived was going to make it so much easier for me to come back and get to it. And that's been lovely. With our Bina Janos game with my buddy Sean, it was over a year in between, the first 7 sessions and the last 2 or 3. And now we're on to book 2. I have a feeling we'll end up going on to book 3. So that's good stuff. That's really fun. And, I don't think everyone should record every session, but I'm just letting you know that was a nice side effect of recording this session. Really, really pleasant. Really loving that. And you don't have to have every little thing tied up in a bow. This isn't a medium, and by this I mean gaming, is not a medium that lends itself to perfection, right? I don't remember who said it back in the RPG.net days, who said that gaming as an art is more like banging out punk rock in a garage than like creating a symphony, right? Maybe not every note you hit is perfect. Not everything has to be perfect, and that's okay. Was it loud? Was it heartfelt? Did you feel it in your gut? Did it make you feel good to play it? There you go. Good enough. On to the next song. On to the next song. And there are so many good songs now, right? We're in this ridiculous embarrassment of riches of role-playing games. And so get to the next one. You don't have to play every game forever, and you don't have to make the perfect ending. You can leave the players walking off into the sunset towards their next adventure. And that's cool. That's all right. More than all right. And I think we can learn that from Game of Thrones. Now, getting a little bit critical of the show for a second. I felt that in those last couple seasons, people always talked about how there's one character. If you don't know Game of Thrones, I'll explain it enough so you can follow along. There was one character who was very kind of cerebral and was known for being very smart. He's famous for saying, I drink and I know things, right? Tyrion. If Tyrion was a Burning Wheel character, he would have a lot of wises. He would have a lot of cool wises to use, to know little things about different parts of the world and different people in it. And in the latter part of the show, a lot of critics of the show talked about how Tyrion didn't have a lot to do. And to me, it almost felt like the show's changed game systems, right? We went from a game system where Tyrion could solve complicated problems with his obscure knowledge and cool ability to problem solve, to having no real complicated problems to solve. Not because there weren't complicated problems out there, but because they weren't being highlighted. And so he just had nothing to do. And that was frustrating, because Peter Dinklage's amazing performance in that show is one of the real highlights of it for me. My favorite moment in that show is Peter Dinklage looking up in the sky and seeing a dragon for the first time. And the awe in his face. Like, you didn't need any special effects. The special effects team deserves all the kudos in the world. Those dragons are dope. And there's a YouTube video. I'll try to find it, put a link to it. There's a YouTube video of all of Game of Thrones edited, and it's just dragon scenes. And it is worth the 20 to 30 minutes that you will spend watching it. Super fun. But Peter Dinklage's awe, I just love that. He captured Tyrion's awe. And so another thing that can happen when you're trying to end the game quickly is the type of conflicts you can have, and you might change things to get through it fast. Whereas before, you might have sat back and let things simmer. If you're trying to just end it in 2 episodes, you might move too quickly. You might change the way you're doing things. Hey, that might be good. That might work. Maybe you were going too slow before. But it's just another thing I think we can take a look at. Be careful. Be careful. You don't want to change the fabric of your game just to end it on a perfect note. Just end it. Say, hey, this is it. This is where we're going to end it, folks. If we want to come back to it, we can come back to it. But for now, this book is closed. And I like framing it as like book 1 or book 2, or, this would be where the season of this DVD box set would end, or whatever it is. It helps me kind of make sense of the structure of it. And that's what I want to talk about today. Ending your games on an imperfect but solid note. Don't feel like it has to be everything. And there are so many cool ways that we've talked about this before. So many cool ways that people have had to end games, right? My friend Jim talked about playing Night Witches and thinking about a kind of historical documentary being made about the player characters. Very cool stuff. So, ending games, perfect is the enemy of done. Don't feel like you have to be perfect. Cool. Let's get to the outro, and you'll find out more of how to contact me and let me know how you've ended games, how that's worked for you. I'd love to hear it. To the outro. Thank you for listening to Daydreaming About Dragons. I'm going to be gaming a bunch this weekend. So on Friday night, I'll be doing Burning Wheel with my friend Sean. We're going to figuring out what to do. The dragon he was sworn to just got eaten by spiders. So I'd like to say that's the first game I've ever had of Burning Wheel where a dragon got eaten by giant spiders. It is not, but that's okay. Last time, one of the players was the giant spider. This time, it's a little different. Check it out. It's on the Actual Play Network. I will put a link to the Actual Play Network in the show notes on their Twitch stream. I'll be there Friday night and I'll be there Saturday night at around 9 p.m. EST for both. And Saturday night, we're going to be playing a new game, Forged in the Dark. What could it be? Stop by, find out. It's the first time. We made characters last week. I'm pretty damn excited. We went over our lines and veils and all that, and I'm looking forward to playing this thing. I'm getting to GM again, which is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Luke and Strash and Lauren do. Because you never know. I never know. They surprise me because they're delightful. So, stop by, say hello. We have a really nice community in the comments, and it's a pretty small group, so maybe a couple dozen at tops. So we get to read every comment and get inspired by them and have a bit of more of a conversation while we're playing, which is really, really cool. So stop by, put it on in the background, and see if it's something you like. If you'd like to support Daydreaming About Dragons, there are a number of ways to do so. The first one is by emailing me, judd.karlman@gmail.com, and letting me know if there's anything I said or was said here that inspired you to give a response, something you agreed with, something you didn't agree with, something that lines right up with your play experience, something that, doesn't line up with your play experience or flies in the face of it. Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Is it your podcast? Is it your blog post? Is it a YouTube video? Is it an interpretive dance that you've recorded? Fantastic. Drop it to me, and if I can, I will put it in our reply show that'll come out in the midweek. I've got a reply show lined up this week, so one should be coming Wednesday-ish or Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. And the other way to support the show is there is a way to monetarily support the show. Folks do it. I appreciate it. Thank you. However, right now I'm asking that folks give to causes that will hopefully make the world a more just place. So check out the links to wonderful organizations fighting for justice. And if you feel like you've listened to Daydreaming and you just want to throw money somewhere where it'll do some good because you want to pay someone for what you got here, that's cool. Put it there for right now, if you don't mind. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening. We've made it through summer. It was not easy, but we're here. Autumn is coming. The leaves are changing. Leaves are falling into the stream here, upstate. It's getting to be cider season. So let's get our sweaters out and get to some gaming. I'll see you in a couple days, and then I'll see you again on Friday and Saturday. And then after all that, I'll see you for another episode next Sunday. Okay? Talk to you then.